Welcome to Voices from the Field podcast presented by Extra Innings Softball, where the stories are real, the conversations are honest, and the game goes way beyond the field. We're bringing you insight, inspiration, and all things softball from the people shaping the sport.
Hello, Extra Innings Softball. Welcome to another episode of Voices from the Field. I am so excited about this podcast for a plethora of reasons. I feel like I've known our guest for a very long time. I'm always been a fan, always does things the right way, and kind of did I got to remember where she came from and what she did, because I always really think of her of Nebraska. Big, huge fan of the Nebraska program. We can go into that a long time from there. But I am joined by Miss Diane Miller. She is an assistant coach at Nebraska under Rhonda Ravel at Nebraska. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she works primarily catchers and hitters. I'm not quite sure. I think that's what she does. But I just learned before we got on that she started 9 months at Northwest Missouri State and then really went and did huge things at Colorado State. Set tons of offensive records. If I think I was reading it, where it's like 44 offensive records as a coach that you set there within the conference. Not sure if you knew that part of it, but I am so excited to really kind of talk about her journey, get some recruiting advice, maybe some advice on what she thinks of NIL portal, just memorable moments, and mostly her why. So good morning and welcome, Miss Diane.
Thank you, Carrie. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited. This will be fun.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's start. Did you always think you wanted to be in college coaching?
No.
Me too.
I originally, I had two high school coaches that were really influential, Donna Kimmel and Jerry Howater. And they were two of my favorite teachers. Jerry coached me in track, and Donna was a PE teacher. And I really thought that I wanted to be a PE teacher and coach, just like they made it look so fun and enjoyable. I thought, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then when I went to college, I was around my head coach. I'm like, oh, this is even better. Like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got on the coaching path, really.
That's awesome. So let's just cut right to the chase. What makes being a Husker softball coach so special and why? Tell us about Nebraska. Tell us about why you've been there for 14 years. That's not something necessarily you see very often anymore in the coaching career. And even leaving a head coaching job to go and be an assistant coach. Tell us the why and all that good stuff.
Well, let me just tell you about that head coaching position that I had at Northwest Missouri State. I, was on a path. I was going to be a Division II head coach, and I was going to teach. That was my path, and to retire off in the sunset. I was there for 9 months, Carrie, and I'm like, this is not for me. I need to get out of this. I love coaching. I love softball, but this title, get me out of here. So I kind of, did a lot of, went back to high school, went out of coaching, went back in coaching. So my track is not exactly, just a smooth track because, as when, in the 90s, if you wanted to make a living, at the Division II level, you had to be a head coach. There was no, maybe had a GA, but that was it. So I really felt like being a head coach was going to be my track because I played Division II level. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be at a P4, nor did I even really want to. There are a lot of young coaches that are like, yeah, I want to be where you're at. And I always tell them, wait a minute. Be where your feet are. You will learn more and be better prepared if you're where your feet are. Learn whatever it is you need to learn. Take your lumps if there are some, but be where your feet are. Those kids deserve you to be your best. Absolutely. And so, to be honest with you, I never even thought I would be at a big school because, P4, P5, that's a new thing too. So
yeah, P4, P5. It sounds like we're ordering things off of a menu. That's chicken, cheese, and rice for me. So
right, exactly. So I always thought it was 60 feet turn left. I never really, it didn't matter to me. I knew that the level of athlete was going to be a different level, but the passion, the love for the game, who they are as people, it was all going to be the same. I mean, what makes a softball player makes a softball player at any level. Their talent level, very different. So I never got caught up in where I was. It was just, I tried to be as good as I could be for the players that I was with.
Yes.
And really, you mentioned I went to Colorado State. So I left Northwest Missouri State because I knew I wasn't the person. Like that, you have to be a person that wants a head coaching job to do it well. I knew I wasn't that person.
Right.
So eventually my track led me to Colorado State. I was an assistant coach there, loved it, loved being that person. And had some success. I mean, I was able to get some players that really elevated the program. And I was able to help them offensively. And we actually came to Nebraska every fall to play Nebraska. And I think that, one of the things Rhonda says is you did a lot with the athletes you had. We weren't able to get the top athlete necessarily, but I felt like we were able to compete at the
Right.
at the Mountain West level. And so anyway, it caught Rhonda's eye. Rhonda then, offered for me to come here. But and the other thing is it was 4 hours from home. My parents were getting older, and my family, we've all been very close. So it was that part in my career. I always tell young coaches, I'm like, when you start out, your priorities are very different. And so, but don't get bitter with where you're at. First, adjust your priorities, because for me, it was time for me to leave and get closer to home. Family was a priority.
Yes.
Now, when I came here, another challenge, Sipple and Rhonda could finish each other's sentences. So here I am, I'm stuck in this two-way communication. I mean, they could pretty much say half a sentence and all of a sudden the other one is finishing it. And on a practice plan, my first practice plan, Carrie, I'm like, okay, I get the split infield, outfield, got that. This iron curtain thing, cone drill, I'm like, I got nothing. I'm like, where do I, like, it was like, woo, okay, we're just one sentences. So I'd be like, need just a little more information on the cone drill, iron curtain, and what exactly that means for me and how can I help?
Yeah.
So, that while it was cool to be a part of this program, when I first started, it was like, oh, wow, okay. I need to watch, observe, listen, ask questions when it's appropriate, and figure out how Rhonda put me in charge of the offense. Like I was going to be in offense, but this other stuff, like I had to ask questions and learn about it, because it was all shorthand and short sentenced,
Yeah. And you know what? I hear you say that, and it's like, watch, listen, and learn. That is such incredible information for young coaches, shoot, for athletes, even for parents. Like we're all so quick to try to respond and fix and do and want the next best thing, that watching and that listening and finding out where do you fit in to elevate everybody else around you. Man, that's a golden nugget. We could probably wrap up today completely with just that alone, in my personal opinion. When I think of Nebraska softball, and obviously I'm looking from a distance, the only time I really remember Nebraska is when I think Sip might have been pitching at Nebraska. I went to my first Women College World Series. I was a freshman. I wasn't pitching as much because we had other great pitchers. I was playing third base, and we went and played the last Women College World Series that was hosted in Omaha.
Huh?
So I remember all that. We played at like a rec park. Things have changed just a little bit. But with that being said, the thing that always has taken me from that moment in my first experience with Nebraska to watching you guys from a distance and playing and coaching, the way your staff interacts, is the word for the culture, or the thing that I would say is family. It always feels and looks like it's family. And it's so funny. I even wrote that down. I can prove all those things to you. But to hear you say that what even took you there was family. So that to me is really evident in what's going on. And, I'll talk about the big elephant in the room. I think of Jordy Bahl.
Mhm.
I mean, everybody knew who Jordy Bahl was. Oklahoma Sooners, national champion, crazy delivery, passion, all those things that she was the face of softball, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And I think about that and I'm like, I have to be right about the family aspect and the culture of Nebraska to have Jordy Bahl up and leave the Oklahoma Sooners. And where does she surface? Nebraska. And it's where she's from that she wants to do it. How much did that help even define your culture more, or maybe put it on a more national stage where people started taking notice?
Well, I think that, we've known Jordy since she was 12 years old. And she's come to camps and, have been around her parents and, she was committed to us. And so we've known Jordy for a long time. And
Right.
really, to be honest with you, Jordy Ball has not changed one bit since she was 12 years old. Little more verbal, but um, you know, speaks well, and doesn't, speak like a 12-year-old anymore. But who she is the same. She's from a hardworking family. Her parents were and are just good, wholesome people.
Mhm.
And she's a product of, being kind of in the middle of a bunch of brothers. She's got
Yeah.
3 brothers, and it's that kid has survived. They're all very close, but, you can imagine. I mean, some of the stories she tells, it's just funny, you know? But, one thing about her is that, all of her brothers played a sport, at least one, some of them more than that. She's got a brother that's playing college basketball right
Oh,
now.
wow.
And so her other brother played college baseball. And then she had a brother that was actually on track to go play college football, but because of concussions had to, end his career. So, the family is very athletic. But one thing I'll say about the family is that Dave and Emily, her parents, I mean, it's obvious that they have always instilled in their kids, you're gonna work hard and you're gonna celebrate your talent, but you are going to work your talent. And I think that is she is a product of the people that she's been blessed to be around.
Yeah.
It's obvious what she does on the field. I mean, that's pretty evident. But I think that what we see every day as far as who she is as a player is really probably more of a product of how she was raised and just how she goes about her business. She is one that wants to, do her best. She wants to make sure that her God-given talent is celebrated and that she works it as hard as she can. And that's really who she is. And so when she came back, I think we have, we had a spell in our program that we struggled. And um her coming back, I think we've always had standards. Some of them were easily met. Some people didn't necessarily want to meet those. But when Jordy came back, it set the standard that we have had in the past and made it just natural.
Yeah.
It's easy when your best player, one of your best players, also is the hardest worker. We have kids that work extremely hard. I would say one of the things that we pride ourselves the most in is that we have all different talent levels, but our kids push themselves and
Mhm.
they do a great job of celebrating each other's successes. All of them are not going to be able to hit 25 home runs,
Yeah.
but when they have a PR in something or when they achieve something, that is celebrated.
I
And I think that's probably one of the, greatest things as a coach you
Yeah.
can see. It's not about everybody else's expectations, about your expectation and your standard of where you are, which
I
I think
love
is
that.
cool.
I love that. All right, we've talked about the corn huskers long enough. Now it's time to get to the nitty-gritty of obviously, without even saying it, the game has changed tremendously in in my opinion, a very short period of time. People think like it's been a long time. It changed little by little, and then it just like went fast tracked. Lots of good. We can argue
Mhm.
some negatives, all those different things, but I want to get some kind of hot topic takes from you. From when you began to right now, what's the biggest way you've seen the game change?
I think probably popularity and exposure, I think I mean, we just saw two of the national tournaments on ESPN
I
networks,
know.
whether it's, on ESPN3 or on
Heck, you saw
ESPN.
Little League World Series on it. Every game, like,
Exactly, yeah, and
uh,
high quality
yeah,
play, you know
yeah.
what I mean? From the young to the old, I mean, it's all getting better, as far as, players, I think. I think that skill and strength, I think we're getting quality players who are getting stronger and, I don't know, faster, I don't know if that's I think that when I go and I watch players, and I watched a few 14 teams, and then when I walked up, I thought they were 16s because they are
Something in the Happy Meals. These kids are
I
just getting bigger.
for real. I mean,
I
I
literally told my husband the other day, if I went back into coaching, I'd have to make kids get on their knees to yell at them sometimes because I can't look up and seriously yell at somebody. Like, I feel like the kid in this situation.
yes, exactly. No kidding. But I think those 2 things I think are absolutely awesome for the game. I think
Absolutely.
one of the areas that, I'm seeing as a coach is as softball develops, so does data, so does analysis, so does just being able to process information. And I would say that um, if players get to college and they haven't been a part of a program where they have access to video and data, when they come in, it's like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And, one of our players who just graduated said to us, one of the things about AI that concerns me is I don't even have to critically think anymore. Like I have lost some of my critical thinking. And so I go to the place of data and information.
Mm,
How like I think data is great, but I think as a coach you've got to figure out how much they can process, and the kids that can process it and use it are really, in my opinion, the ones that are taking off at a different level right now in our game, for
right.
sure.
Well, and to me, there's a happy medium because I'm an old coach, retired, looking
Mhm.
on the outside. There is a part of our game to me that's lost on some of the technology in the
Mhm.
knowledge of the players. Like,
Yes.
I sit there and, the armbands, and I get the reasons behind all of it,
Mhm.
but, I took it very upon myself with my own daughter. I'm like, at 10 years old, 11-year-olds, when she started, I'm like, "Call pitches."
Mhm.
They call 'em. I'll
Mhm.
be over here on the side if you have a question or you have a concern or you kinda go, "I have no clue," or, "Oh my god, get another pitcher in here, look." Like, anything like that, like, I want you to do that, and I did that with the pitchers. I'd say, "Look, whatever she calls is a powerful suggestion. You
Mhm.
don't have to throw it, but once you accept it and you throw it, it's just as much your responsibility as the person who called it." And so that was something I really prided myself on, and I get it. There's so much data and
Mhm.
technology now that there wasn't, that there's more information coming from the dugout to the field. But it almost makes me a little sad sometimes because I'm like, there's I don't want my daughter to ever be a dumb softball player. That's not the game. Like, I
Right.
don't be a receiver, be a
Mhm.
catcher. And I'd
Mhm.
say the same thing to my pitchers. Don't be a thrower, be a pitcher. Like,
Mhm.
you know better than anybody what's gonna work because you know what you have in your tank, what's working the
Mhm.
best, all those things. So, I
Mhm.
definitely hear what you're saying, and like I said, it does make me as an old coach a little sad that I'm like, "No, like, teach these kids the game."
Mhm.
I remember at some point when I was coaching the it wasn't P4, P8 at that time, whatever it was, you know, that I was like, "I'm having to teach a rundown to these kids," and I'm thinking, "Did you never play monkey in the middle? Like, did you not do those things? Like, you there's no way," and it to me, I hear exactly what you're saying. I
Mhm.
think it can be power, and it does concern me. Heck, I find myself thinking less because I can go, "Oh, I'll go to Chat GPT and just ask the question," and I'm thinking, I feel like I'm, like, reaching out to this almighty brain, and I'm just trusting it 100%, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna go research that myself." Like, I don't it can be so simple, but is it really there, And I
Mhm.
think the thing that what you're talking about, if you can take that data and process it and use it and learn how your body moves, we
Mhm.
can get into the whole aerial terrestrial thing that's all new
Mhm.
and geeking out for me.
Yep.
So there's so much out there in that I agree 100% with you. Like, it's really crazy. I
Mhm.
love that your player was so observant for that because you don't want players to lose that critical thinking.
No.
You become robotic and then it's not a great product. I don't want our
Mhm.
product to ever not be great and to be great
Yes.
have critical thinking in it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the big elephant in the room, NIL and portal. Oh my gosh, let's talk. So obviously that's shifted the landscape
Yeah.
of the game, probably almost as fast as what COVID did, if we're really honest with it. I mean,
Right.
just went from a little baby steps of bam, let's just run you over with a Mack truck. So tell me what you think. How has it impacted the game? Let's just talk NIL. Those are two huge NIL.
Mhm.
How has that impacted the game of softball, in your opinion? And then even how has it impacted Nebraska?
Well, I think the first, originally when they started talking about this without a lot of information, I was like, "Ugh, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. Like, what's this gonna do to the locker room? What's this gonna do to, just the culture in general?" But now that we've kind of lived in it, it's kind of cool.
That's cool.
Like, it's kind of cool to see our players come with, different, like a sunglass deal that, they're putting on these sunglasses. And I'm like, oh, wow, where'd you get those? I got an NIL deal. I'm like, oh, cool, nice. All
Yeah.
right. And to be honest with you, I don't even know most of the things they do, as far as NIL deals. I really don't. But I do think it's kind of cool that they have a platform, and if they believe in something, that they're now able to, I
Reap
don't
the
know,
benefits.
recommend or endorse or whatever you want to say. Um, I do love the fact that females can now make money because,
Yeah.
our window is so short right now. Hopefully we're on a better track for that,
Right.
as far as the professional game. But I think that where we are in our sport, I think that the college time frame right now is probably where they can earn a little money and for their talent,
Yes.
which I now am a supporter of because I mean, Carrie, we've got people making millions of dollars to coach
I know.
on the backs of players. So why aren't the players able to benefit? I mean, I
Men.
just we
100%.
to me, we've created this.
Yeah.
We've kind of created this.
And I think any negatives that I see with the NIL is just that I think Sue Enquist said it the best. We're in the middle of a renaissance. And the tail is wagging the dog. I mean, we can talk about the Nija Kennedy 1.2 million.
Yeah.
God bless. I'm so freaking happy for her. Like that's
too.
generational changing money. I'm like, you go, girl. Like I'm celebrating it with her.
Yes.
And I've never met her. I've never done that. I think with it that the thing that everyone has to take in is that glass ceiling has now been moved up, which
Yep.
I think is fabulous. It's
Mhm.
about time. Kind of like
Mhm.
what you said about it, I think there's some negative things that can come with it until
Mhm.
that renaissance has kind of taken on it. But then I say, well, for 1.2 million, you better know how to throw a intentional walk, and I can talk about you on that. Like I can say, if I was writing that 1.2 million check, I'd be saying, that's going to be the first thing we're working on this year. We need to be able to do that. So I think the cool part of it is women are making money.
Mhm.
The part that these women need to understand is when you accept those checks, your world gets opened up and you're living in a
Mhm.
fishbowl now, and
Yeah.
people get to do it. And
Mhm.
I never would say it's okay to attack somebody personally. I don't think what she did was wrong personally. It was a mistake. It was exposed. How cool for Atwood. Like, hey, let's get a million in Atwood's hands. Like, let's
Mhm.
let's keep doing that. I selfishly am doing that for my daughter because all the money I've spent in softball, I'm not going to a nursing home. So she's going to be stuck with me forever. So that would be my reason that I'm talking about it. Now, with that being said, is connected immediately to the portal. My personal opinion is the portal is a lot like the welfare system. It was created for the right reasons. It is also a program that I think can be abused and I think
Mhm.
needs probably the most fixing in the process of it. I would love to hear your thought process, number one, on the portal and maybe some of the things that you think would be beneficial for the sport. And not, I'm talking just softball, but for all,
Mhm.
to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we've benefited from the portal. I
Mhm.
mean, there's no doubt about that. I think that one thing that the portal, when you look at the players that have come back to us, they're all players that we recruited. They were all players that most of them have connections to Nebraska in some capacity. Will
Mhm.
it always be like that? I don't know. I think here is what I do know. When people put money into programs, they expect to win. And we just got done talking about critical thinking. Okay. So now you can take a transfer player that maybe hasn't played a lot, but they've experienced college. So we don't have to go through the player who great talent, all these things. They're the first time away from home. It's the first time they've gotten up for 6 a.m. Weights. The first time they've been in a practice every day because, not and really practice is not necessarily part of what has happened in their career.
Close to the 4-hour Sunday practice.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. They're learning how to practice for the first time.
Yep.
Oh, they have a roommate. Guess what? They've always had their own room, but now they're in with somebody.
Mama's not doing laundry.
Nightlife. Yeah. All that. All those things are piling on top of freshmen. It's a lot. And then we expect them to come in and fill a slot for a player that just graduated. Well, you and I both know we can't cook them faster. We got to slow cook those freshmen. Okay. We can't throw them in the microwave and get them ready. So I think where the transfer portals really helped us is it's filled some voids that maybe we had some freshmen that we think can help us, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot. And I think that while freshmen, if you get the right ones, they really want to play. They don't understand exactly what that means
Absolutely.
on a daily basis. And so it becomes overwhelming to them. And then, as you know, they don't perform their best. So in some respects, I think the transfer portal kind of fills that void. In the world of they're dumping millions of dollars into programs they want to win, it's tough for a freshman to come in when you have 5 open spots, vacated. Do you hope that some of your underclassmen fill those? Absolutely. But if you they aren't developing as quickly as maybe you want them, I think that's where the transfer portal is very, very helpful.
So let me ask you this, because I have a question for you. This is where I feel like this comes to the way kids are raised and the way they're talked to, is I feel like the transfer portal in some ways handcuffs some coaches because those freshmen or even other players that are there, when as a coach, you got to get in and dissect and change and move and adapt. A lot of times it's just easier to say I'm transferring or I didn't play, so I'm leaving. And so, that's kind of like when I told my daughter, I'm like, look, when you choose, you're stuck. Like you're there. Now, I told her, like, obviously all of a sudden you wake up and want to be a marine biologist. Well, that ain't happening in Arkansas because Beaver Lake ain't going to produce that. And I do believe that the window is so small for earning potential. So to me, that this is your professional career. Your college career is your professional career. And God bless, I hope that changes. I hope that changes in the next 5 years. But right now, this is your professional career to allow you to get the keys to your kingdom, to be able to earn a living and pay for your kids to eat and buy a house and do all the things you want to do. But when you get there, if you're not playing, that's your fault. What are you going to do about it? And it's not going to be, oh, I'm going to go into the transfer portal. That's not happening. Like if that happens, then you're out of the will. That's what we said. Like as a family, that's how we feel about it. This is how you're picking your husband. This is practice. You better know what you're doing when you pick it because I didn't even like my husband for the first 7 years. I finally got him where I like him now, So like he literally said, would you get remarried? I'm like, no, I took me way too long to get this thing to work the way I like it. I'm just right off into the sunset, So I think there's that part of it that has to come from the home, from coaches recruiting. I think players, when you're choosing programs, you need to look at what I would consider portal use, like ones that they're really just the 4-year, 2-year version of school, so don't go to a place like that and then be shocked that you're not playing. Like you got to know those things. And I challenged my daughter when you were looking, like, look at programs that have a happy mix. Ask about that. Like, okay, how do you feel about the portal? Yes, we use the portal. Yes, it's helped us. Yes, we're going to look for it. We'd rather get somebody that we can dump into for a year or two and develop mixed with that. Those are the things that you're looking for, and I think that would be like my daughter being a basketball player and going and playing for Bobby Knight and being shocked that he throws a chair out on the field. Like, hello, he's done that. He's not changing for you. Like, do your research. So I guess this is where I transition with you into kind of recruiting because I'm always wanting to get advice for players that are out there and parents that are out there because I don't think there's enough. there's not enough coming to where they feel like, one, they can really talk to you. Obviously, there's rules in place, but to hear from the heart of the power force, if you had your best golden nugget to talk to the class of 2027, all of them across the nation, what would you say to them? September 1's coming, the big, oh my gosh, you got to stay up till midnight, whatever that stuff is. What would be your golden nugget?
Well, one thing we always talk about is comparison is the thief of joy. And so I think that here, Carrie, you live this world for a lot of years. So as a parent, it's easy for you to say, hey, this is your career. This is your journey. I'm the sidecar, support, get you in a position that you can get recruited, but this isn't my gig. Okay. And I think that if there was one piece of advice for parents, don't cross the line. I know it's really hard to see your kids sad that, Nebraska didn't call your daughter, but this is not going to be as hard as things that are going to happen to her in the future. You're right there. You're right there to help her through this hard time. Use this as a learning experience. It doesn't define her who calls her. It doesn't. This is a game. Where in our right mind does a game dictate who we are as people or as humans? It doesn't.
Preach.
It's like, and parents, I know most parents have dumped a ton of money into what but here's where I also go. I don't think my family would have changed a thing because my family still has friends from when I played, and that was a long time ago.
Absolutely.
And so you have to weigh out the purpose of what you are doing to the benefits versus, maybe the struggles. I mean, people that get a second mortgage to play softball, I don't understand it.
No.
I don't, but I do understand that this is their daughter's dream to play, but playing softball, there's a lot of levels and does finances have an impact on probably where some people will land? Yeah, absolutely. But that's real. That's real.
Life.
Yes, absolutely. I'll never live in a mansion. I'm okay with that. I'm
Heck,
okay
I'm
with
trying to get to a tiny home. I told my husband, let's go. We keep downsizing. This one leaves the nest and we go into about 400 square feet. I want a backpack to be my house and I want to travel. I want to go see her play. I want to do I can't take any of it with me. What do we want?
Right.
I'm like, just get
Yeah.
rid of it. Every time he sees, nope, don't want it, don't need it. Nope,
Yep.
don't need it. Let's just put it. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. So parents need to, as much as they can, just be supportive and let their daughter go through this journey. There are going to be ups and downs. There will be.
Absolutely. And
There will
let me
be.
this because I coached a travel team for a while and finally got small. My title is now, hey mom, I need water. And it's the best role I've ever had. I can sit there and when all the parents are talking about coaches, I'm like, dang, this is what they were saying about me when I was out there. And they always laugh. They're like, you don't even get excited when she hits a home run. I'm like, it's not my joy. I just love watching her play. I like watching her hit a home run as much as I do striking out because I like to watch the process. I like to see those things, afterwards, she'll come up and she'll start and I really just let it be her conversation because she'll come up and I'll literally say, hey, let's go get something to eat. And if she's ready to talk, she'll talk. If she's not, my dad's a little bit different and he's on every trip with me now and he'll either say, hey, you were great or you suck. Let's go eat. Like, yeah. And I think the only thing that I've ever been the first to talk to her about is like when she starts saying, I'm like, did you do everything you could this week to prepare yourself to be in that situation? And I'm like, and think about it before you answer because I used to live in my house. So I know if you did, you can't lie to me. Like when you go to college, I can be mad at Courtney Deifel because I can think you're doing everything. But while you're under my roof, I can say it. And I think that's the best advice you can give is like, I think the biggest thing athletes crave today, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is autonomy. They want that autonomy. So it is theirs and it's not their moms. It's not their dads. It's not their coaches. It's them, and I think once they get that, then they can process when they suck or when they're good because it is theirs. It's nobody else's. No one's making them hit. No one's making them train to get to that process. And that really is the advice for the 27s and 28s. I always get them. September 1st is the beginning. It's not the end. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
kids that I've had their number one school not call them go through the process. The ones that I can say, don't panic, go through the process.
Mm-hmm.
This is a dance. You're going to know when you know. Don't just pick the first guy that asks you to marry him, because if he's crappy, you're going to end up in a divorce anyways, you know? And I'm like, just dance the dance. And then all of a sudden in October, their number one school called them because of the way the things work.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going to their number one school.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to go through the portal. You didn't have to do
Right.
things because you didn't panic. You
Uh-huh.
only panic when you don't work. And
Mm-hmm.
hard work, you can never replace hard work for September
Mm-hmm.
1st. You either
Right.
did it or you didn't, from the way
Yep.
you worked on the field to off the field, going to camps, emails, playing for the right people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's that part of it. And then the second part of it is like what you said is make sure you're going to go somewhere that somebody knows that this is what brings you joy,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to have some really crappy days.
Oh,
And people
Betty Lou.
refocus you to where you get your joy, then you're
Yeah.
going to end up in the portal anyways. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to your why and your legacy. Talk to me. If you were to say, this is what I want to be remembered by, a word, a phrase, by your players, what would it be?
Well, I've been doing this for a minute now. And so what used to be my why or legacy is changed, and I'm grateful for that. It's always been about the players. It's always been about I've always thought that softball was just the avenue to help them for what's ahead. I've always felt like that. I think softball is the greatest sport to teach resiliency, adversity, recovery, all those things. There's so many things about it. And even the recruiting process. I think that's a great experience to go through,
Absolutely.
because there are going to be times in your life where it's going to be hard,
Mm.
and one of my greatest joys, we just celebrated 50 years of Nebraska softball.
Wow. Congratulations.
And
That's awesome.
yes, and Rhonda and Lori, I think it's 89% of all the games they've been a part of, either as players or coaches.
Dang. That's a
Yeah.
neat stat.
So I know. So then we had 50 years. So they are in most of
Or
those.
Nebraska. Like that.
Exactly. Yeah. But for me, from 2010 to know all those players and for them to come back and us to sit down, and they want me to meet their kids, and they want to share stories and how maybe I've helped them with situations and things like that. I think that that's probably the one thing that I just want to have helped players in some point in their life understand why we had high standards, why it was always team first, why did we always practice gratitude, why were relationships so important, why did we always talk about choosing love and chasing excellence, and so for them to take those core values and to run with them and finally to understand them. We always talk about, when you are coaching, you used to get, like, probably when you were coaching, like, you would get cards like during their career, maybe at the end of their freshman year. And so now they don't necessarily do that, but man, you get an email or a card 5 years after they graduate and you're like, whoa, man,
Yeah. That is
I never knew that impacted them that way.
Yeah, that is such a cool I always think of that thing, and I'm gonna butcher it the way I say it, but it's like the thing that says 100 years from now, it won't matter what kind of car I drove, how much money I had in the bank, what kind of house I lived in, but the world may be different because I was important in the life of a child. I
Yeah.
think you just summed it up with everything that you just said there, and that is so cool
Mhm.
because the one thing that my biggest compliment that I can always give you um, is I always feel like you are the same energetic, happy, passionate person. And I'm sure you have some of your down days because I do too, but I try to do it inside my house and not outside. So my husband would go, yeah, you don't know her, but you are consistent. And I think that is the biggest thing that any gift a coach can be. I don't care who you are, as long as you're consistent, then you're going to help the people around you. All right, fun closing.
Okay.
If there's anything else that you've left out that you'd like to say?
One thing I will add, in terms of the recruiting process, and maybe just one thing that we talk about a lot, especially in the world of hitting, is where is your energy? I think that when you think about the past, there's a lot of anxiousness involved in the past. So is your energy and what your thoughts are in the past, is your energy and your thoughts in the future, which creates a whole nother, sort of nervousness, anxiousness,
Mhm.
whatever. And you're gonna, that's just part of it. But if you can just check in to the energy of being in the present moment,
Yeah.
I think that that is really critical, is being able to control your energy and where your energy is going. If you have leaks, can you have less of a leak maybe the next time your thoughts go there?
I love
Um, because
I
I think that energy and energy leaks can really suck the joy out of this whole process, even out of coaching sometimes.
Absolutely, because that's what those leaks to me is the comparison. That's where everybody
Mhm.
starts comparing, well, Susie's
Absolutely.
getting this or Lori's getting this. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, where are you at? Because if
Mhm.
you're busy looking at everybody else, that you're not paying attention to your own plate,
Mhm.
you can miss some really good gifts during that, and I think that
Yes.
is so I love that. And
Yeah.
that to me is so huge even for like the class of 28. So I
Mhm.
tell everybody like the 28s and the 29s, they keep saying, "Oh, I've got time." I'm like, "No, you don't. You don't have time." Like, you don't, and yes, you have more time than the kids that were committing in 5th grade a couple years ago. Yes, you have more time than that, but I'm like I told my mom, if someone would have come to Macy in 6th or 7th or 8th, heck, in 9th grade and said, "Hey, I want you to come play for me and you need to commit," I would have went, "Yeah, I'm gonna say it. She needs to have her period in the prom before she's worried about where she's going." Yeah. I'm like, "Holy cow!" Because I even think it's still young now. I
Yeah.
think it's brutally young that, in September of your junior year, you're deciding supposedly where you're gonna go to my daughter doesn't have a clue really what she wants to be when she
Mhm.
and I'm like, "Well, you can be like me, you can just refuse to grow up. That's why I'm still doing softball." Like, yeah, that's the best thing to do, but yeah, I
Absolutely.
think it is crazy, and I think it is being present where you're at.
Mhm.
I think that's skills 101 more than
Yes.
anything because we spend so
Yes.
much time thinking about where we're supposed to be. Heck, I'm just trying to figure out where I'm supposed to be in the next hour right now. Maybe that's I think that's the blessing of getting older. You're like,
Mhm.
"I just say what I wanna say, I'm present where I wanna be, and it might be hard for other people, but it's really fun for me."
Mhm.
So,
I've enjoyed coaching more in the last 10 years because I figured out ask more questions and listen more.
yeah, amen.
Don't tell, coach.
Yeah,
Get them to understand who they are.
that's so cool.
It's
I
so
love
fast. So much
Dang.
faster.
Well, every 27 and below needs to pay attention to what she's saying and check out Nebraska. Okay, fun closing.
Okay.
Talk about favorite place to play.
Well, I would have to say Bowling Stadium here in Nebraska. I mean, Husker
Amen.
Nation doesn't get much better than that. I
Just
mean,
not in February when it's cold.
well, we don't play here in February, Carrie.
Okay.
When are we moving that season back? When's that happening?
Amen. All right. Do you have like one specific that you can think of? And I know it's hard because we've both been doing this so long, like sports memory that you just go, it might be a championship or it might be seeing a player come back from something. Is there one that you just go, man, when I think of that, I just kind of light up?
Oh man, been doing this a long time. I think that, as far as um the one thing that I as sad as injuries are, players that come back and have learned the value of taking the moments to figure out, wow, this really benefited me in a weird way. Like they're able to not necessarily celebrate the injury, but man, this is what I learned about me.
That's so cool.
Those are probably some of the things that one thing that I always am like, wow, that's a different kind of maturity right there.
Yeah, that
You
is.
know,
That's really cool. All right. Game day snack or pregame ritual. You have any of them? Superstition.
oh gosh. I feel like all I do is eat before we play. I mean, it's like eat, play, eat some more, eat, eat. I mean, it is crazy. Remember when you couldn't give them peanut butter for their bagel? Oh, girl, now we're giving them steak and tea. I mean, we're giving everything on that bagel. So now we've got the 3 meals plus the snacks plus the post game.
The fueling stations all over campus.
Absolutely. Don't forget about gotta have I mean, it is insane as far as food goes. We've got snacks in the dugout. We had camp this last week and we had snack time because it was a Nebraska experience. I said, well, don't leave out the snacks. And they were like, really? You should have a snack during practice? And, oh, absolutely. We got to have a snack. Gotta have a snack. I mean, that is like, it's
And
like,
I want you to think about this. Let's put this in perspective. I think about that. You guys are playing one game a day now, dadgummit. I can remember when we played my first year at Arkansas, I kid you not, we go out to a tournament that was out at Sunnyvale, California. I can't even remember who put that thing on. My team took the field for an 8 a.m. game, which should be illegal and banned anyways. We played at 8 and we didn't leave the field till 2 o'clock in the morning because we played 5 back-to-back games.
oh my
At
God.
that point in time, I was like offering people like $30 for a Snickers out of their bag because my pitcher needed something to eat. There wasn't anything there. We didn't come with food. I mean, it's changed so much and all
Yes.
for the better. But there truly, I met with my very first team ever from Arkansas about a year ago, and we were laughing, and they're like, do you see what these kids have now? And we're laughing. And I'm like, yeah, but think about the stories we have that they'll never have. Like
Right.
talking about that Sunnyvale thing. And we were playing the last game, and I could be wrong, but I think we were like playing Northwestern, and they were on like their 3rd game of the day. And we went to like 11 innings. No one could score. And finally my pitchers looked at me and they're like, can we just let them score? We just want to go home. Like, we want to go home. And I'm like, yeah, because if we win this game, we have to be up at 8 o'clock for the next game. And they're like, oh yeah, we're definitely losing. There's no way. Like, we literally remember those conversations. And she's like, just so you know, I didn't give up that hit on purpose, but I wasn't sad when I did. So I totally get that.
Yeah.
Okay, next hot question. Do you have a favorite hitter that you've coached, or is there a hitter that's existed in the sport of the game through your time that you go, man, I would have loved to coach them?
Oh gosh. Well, probably early in my career, my early time in Nebraska, in 2013, when we went to the College World Series, we had some players in that group that were really special. But let me tell you about a bonehead thing I did in 2013 that is one that sticks with me
Okay.
all the time. Alicia Armstrong, small town Beatrice, Nebraska. Athlete, probably one of the best athletes to, ever go through this program and maybe even this university. Uber athletic. Well, she kept getting her barrel around the ball. And I was like fearful for the third base coach and kind of me because we were in the third base dugout. So I'm like, first thing we need to do is make sure we get the middle of the field because this could really hurt because she hit the ball so hard, right? So anyway, I'm working with her and I said, okay, something's not working here. I said, so show me when I say stay inside the ball, what does that look like to you? Or what does that mean to you? Or show me what happens. She takes the bat, Carrie, keeps her hands inside the ball and her barrel goes whoop, way outside the ball. I'm like, oh, okay, that's helpful. How about we keep the barrel inside the ball? Oh my God. I mean, if she would have been able to be healthy, she'd have been a 2 or 3 time All-American. I mean, the ball stayed in the middle of the field. It was magic. She goes, oh, this is so much easier. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why did you not say it that way?
Isn't that crazy? Just asking questions, though. That's
Yes.
everybody out there to
Yes. So that is probably the most impactful moment I had in my career was with Alicia Armstrong, just by asking that question, because I have been fortunate to coach many great athletes, but that was probably the one moment where I'm like, more detail is helpful.
What a beautiful way to finish this up. Thank you so much for your time. You've been such a pleasure. This has been such a joy. I cannot wait to get this out. And thank you for spending some time with us.
Oh, thank you, Carrie.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Voices from the Field, presented by Extra Innings Softball. Don't forget to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on Spotify, and visit our website at extrainningssoftball.com for more stories, rankings, and updates from around the game. We'll see you guys next week.